Right. Well, does anyone have any particular topic, any suggestion for today? I'm here in Big City. Had a nice Sunday meeting yesterday, and we have Echo here, one of the who's staying in the temple at present. And we'll have a program at Jamuna's. Jamuna is a Chinese devotee who I haven't seen in about 12 years, and I didn't know she was here. But here's Krishna Bhushan Prabhu.
Krishna Bhushan!
Oh my gosh.
How's it going?
Kamoy? What the?
Yeah.
You're live on Facebook.
Nice. Here with Vishakha. Where are you?
I'm in Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we have devotees here from Ireland and Norway
Oh, very
and
good. Yes.
California.
California.
Yeah.
And about Hare Krishna. Cool.
Yeah, so tonight we're having a program at Jamuna's. Some of you have met her, maybe she's a Chinese devotee. And then tomorrow morning early, we have a flight. Nishinga Chaitanya is also traveling with me, traveling to Santa Barbara, and we'll be there a while, then Tijuana, and making our way back to San Jose and Soquel. So yeah, it's all been very, happy and busy, always inspiring to meet with the devotees. And here in Salt Lake, there's always a lot of, high level, intense discussion. Many qualified Vaishnavas here. So it's always very inspiring. Okay, well, does anyone want to suggest a topic? Also,
I could if you would like.
yeah, sure, yeah.
So we're always talking about mercy, and I'm trying to understand like what that means for us, because there's the typical understanding of mercy, whereas forgiveness and stuff like that. But we also see in the scriptures, and our gurus tell us about situations which are very difficult, and we will say, oh, that's the mercy of the Lord. So trying to understand, like, and also, we're supposed to be kind to people, but what's actually being merciful? What does that mean to be merciful to someone?
Can you give more context to that question?
I don't, I can't think of anything offhand, but like there's definitely.
Are you referring? No, I don't mean you have to give more like examples, but I mean, do you mean in the sense of like someone's behaving in a disturbing way or dysfunctional way? Are we meant to be merciful by just overlooking that? Or I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
Well, I mean, there's different ways I'm looking at it. So for example, like, certain things we'll see where like, what would we consider bad events that happen to us or something like that. And we'll be told, oh, that's the mercy of Krishna. And so.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I understand.
But then also like when we want to, like, as you were suggesting, what does it mean to be merciful to someone? So, is just, giving some bum on the street $5. I mean, is that a type of mercy, or is it like giving him a book that's a greater type of mercy? But like, how does that play out?
Okay, so you're like speaking about this in a broad sense, to covering different points. Okay, well, yeah, great topic. So in regard to the first point that you made, wait, I'm sorry, I'm a little underslept. What was the first point?
First point is like, when bad events happen and people are saying, oh, it's the mercy of the
Lord. Okay. Yes. So yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I do feel like sometimes, and maybe we were discussing this not too long ago. I think we do sometimes overdo the Krishna's mercy thing. And there is a subtle type of arrogance about that, oh, it's like we're saying, I'm such a great devotee, I'm the direct recipient of Krishna's divine grace, everything that, not only arrogance, but there's something worrisome about that. There's a type of delusion about that, and I hear this kind of idea sometimes even from devotees who let's say are a little more serious, but it's a misconception. I feel that like every situation that's coming in my life is directly Krishna's divine grace, whereas I mean, like in the broadest sense, it's true, in the sense that the arrangement of karma is made by Krishna for our correction. So indirectly we may consider it to be Krishna's mercy, in the sense that he's made this whole arrangement of karma, which is for my correction ultimately. So, well, Krishna Bhushan wants to say goodbye, I think.
I'm hoping maybe someday be Santa Cruz to visit.
Cool.
Yes.
Nice to see you, Dandavat,
See you soon.
Krishna Bhushan.
Be here tomorrow?
Yeah, will you come to the program tonight?
Yes.
Jamuna's awesome.
What time? 6?
3:30.
3:30?
Yeah.
I thought it was a.
No, it's just a meeting. Ask Rai Kishore for the details.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Okay, sorry.
Dandas
We have Dandavat, we have Ramananda Prabhu here now, and Suvasini Didi, Dandavat, and Seva Rupa. Is that Seva Rupa in South Africa or Seva Rupa in Mexico? Not sure. Mexico. Dandavat, welcome, Seva Rupa Didi. So yeah, like in the broadest sense, we can say whatever happens is the mercy of the Lord, but not that it's like directly coming from him, but in the sense that it's our karma, what I mean is like, it's a situation that we have created actually. And the reaction is coming to us, which is actually a type of mercy of the Lord. And, in order for us to learn from our mistakes. Then in the case of higher devotees, then yes, whatever happens to them, even if it appears to be trouble, it is the mercy of the Lord, coming for some particular purpose of his. It may be because he wants to glorify his devotee, to show the world, what their quality, because so many qualities come out in moments of difficulty, their quality of humility, tolerance, endurance, all of these things, they are shown by the great devotees in periods of difficulty that they face. And it's mentioned in different places. The Lord arranges these for their glorification. Then also, sometimes, like in the case of a devotee who's maybe they're not like an Uttam Vaishnava, highest level Vaishnava, but they're exclusively devoted on the path, then they're in some special category. They're in like a special group being cared for by the Lord and his own potency, his own agents in a more direct way. And in those cases, difficulty may come in order to help them along the path. There's a commentary actually there's an interesting commentary about this by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Jai Bimala Didi. There's an interesting commentary about this by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There's this famous verse, Tattenu Kampam Susamik Shamano Bunjane Vatma Kritam Vipakam Ridragva Purbir Vida Dandamaste Jiveta Yomukti Pade Sa Dayabag. This famous verse, which Srila Sridhar Maharaj emphasizes so much. He describes it as the greatest regulation given by any scripture. And this verse is saying, it's describing like a progressive mood of a sincere practitioner, that whatever comes to them, whatever trouble comes to them, they will recognize that they have created it themselves. that is their own karma. They have created themselves. There's this quote, Srila Sridhar Maharaj quotes. It's by I believe it's Ram Krishna, actually. Who we're not big fans of Ram Krishna, but there's some righteous things that are said by we can appreciate wherever they come from. It's Ram Krishna or Vivekananda, one or the other. But he says karma does not fall from the sky or grow up from the earth, but it's created by ourselves. It comes from within our own selves. So this verse is stating that the sincere practitioner will have that realization, like, I am responsible. I cannot blame anyone else. I have created every last thing that is coming to me. So there's that mood of responsibility, self-accountability, and also, even beyond that, there's appreciation. Like this is actually an expression of mercy, in the sense that it gives me an opportunity to grow. So they're seeing that the Lord's grace is also behind that. So this is this verse, right, mentioned so many times by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But there's an interesting commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this verse, where he explains that in the case of more advanced devotees, they don't actually go through karma, and difficult circumstances. Oh, okay, Sevarupa, that's I'm sorry to hear that, but thanks for letting us know. Oh, I think she's already had to go. Her internet's not working. So Vishwanath explains that in the case of more advanced devotees, whatever comes to them is not karma. They're beyond karma at this stage, but they still have some subtle anarthas, impurities within themselves. They're still going through a process of purification, and so therefore they need to go through some further testing, further challenges, so that these covers can be fully shaken off, and that inner self can emerge more brightly. So these kind of in the case of the Ananya Bhak, right, the fully dedicated exclusive devotee, then whatever circumstances come to them, it is an arrangement of the Lord. It is directly the Lord's mercy. Whether it's in the case of like a more advanced practitioner, and those circumstances are coming to help them progress further, or in the case of a fully realized soul, then these difficulties are coming in order for the world to see how glorious they are, and the world to see their example. Like the example of Madhavendra Puri is mentioned by our gurus, like in that way, that he, the Lord put him through some difficulty, sending him to the other side of the country to collect sandalwood from this obscure place with no money, no resources, and expecting him to carry this heavy load back to the Vrindavan area, and then in the end the Lord told him, actually, you don't need to do that. I'm non-different. My form here in Ramuna is non-different from my form in Vrindavan, like that. But Madhavendra Puri, he demonstrated this extreme mood of sacrifice and dedication. And so yeah, and we see also in divine persons like our Gurudev, how the difficulties they've had to face have demonstrated their glowing, wonderful spiritual qualities, and shown example for us. So in our own case, we will feel like, we will feel that it is as Gurudev said once, we're all going through our karma full, as Gurudev said very humbly once. And we all have to face the fruits of our karma. We are just trudging along in this, world of birth and death, trying to hold on to some line, some connection to the feet of Guru and Gauranga. So that's kind of, but we are appreciating in the background that this is an expression of the Lord's mercy. And then in regards to how we will, there's, everyone knows this expression of Saraswati Thakur, right? Well, actually, we hear it's an expression of Mahaprabhu originally, Jive Doya Nama Ruchi Vaishnav Seva, right? And when Rupa Goswami asks Sanatan, Dandavat Karan, welcome. And also Ananda Srupani joined us from London. Great to have you with us. Rupa Dandavat. Rupa Goswami gives, like, when Rupa Goswami asks Sanatan, what are Mahaprabhu's principal teachings? Right? And he says, Jive Doya, to give mercy to others.
No, was Sanatan Goswami. Sorry to correct you.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah. Rupa Goswami, he asked that to Sanatan and Sanatan answered. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Jive Doya, to give mercy. Doya is one word for mercy. Give mercy to all souls. Name Ruchi, to taste the name. And Vaishnav Seva, to serve the Vaishnavas. He describes, Sanatan Goswami describes these as the core teachings of Mahaprabhu. And there's an explanation by Srila Saraswati Thakur, what is it, what does Jiva Doya mean? And what does Jiva Himsa mean? Jiva Himsa is the opposite, means, violence to other souls. And Saraswati Thakur says, Jiva Himsa, violence to souls, means to neglect to preach the principles of pure devotion. Which is an interesting point, just by that passivity, not even that we're not doing something negative, but just not that we're doing something negative, but just by neglecting to do something positive, there's a fault there. That is a very profound point to contemplate. Simply by means like we have some responsibility. If we have some wealth, if we have some, it's described as an offense. If your neighbor is poor and you have money, that's a kind of offense. If you have knowledge and you're not sharing that with others, that's a type of offense. Just neglect is a type of offense. And it's not only being the aggressor that is offensive, but by neglecting to do something positive, when you have the facility, you have the capacity, there's also an offense there. So that's a very interesting point. So then what is Jive Doya? To help people in the awakenment of their Krishna consciousness. That is real mercy. And again, there is a kind of arrogance that can creep in this mood, we got to save everyone. I'm going to be merciful to everyone. We also have to think, are we in a position to give mercy? We also have to think, we want to pose ourselves more in the mode of receiving mercy, collecting mercy, even if it's just in the form of well wishes, from the Vaishnavas. We want everybody's well wishes. We want to be in everybody's good graces. So we want to try to position ourselves in such a way so as to maximize the degree to which we are receiving that from others, from Vaishnavas. But still, we want to try to navigate the world relationships with this, let's say in the most simple sense, compassionate mood. We want to try to include the element of compassion in our vision of others and in our dealings with others. The mood of compassion, we had an interesting talk yesterday in the program here, how we have this tendency to objectify people and situations. I mean in the sense of labeling or boxing people. We see a particular tendency in somebody, and then we box that, and this is what they are. We take a photograph of some particular moment in time, and that's it, right? End of story. This is how this person is. But we're excluding all the possibilities and the potential that is surrounding that person. And this was Gurudev, one of Gurudev's wonderful qualities, as which he described as a fault. I believe in everybody. This is a divine quality. But in this world is so degraded that it can be considered on one level as a kind of fault. When I was in school, actually, one of my nicknames was Gullible, because I have that tendency to believe whatever they tell me. So in this world, that quality can be considered a kind of fault, But in higher dealings, that's actually standard, There's an interesting explanation of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he describes how different scriptures, different scriptural like Vedic texts, they give different classes of advice. And so he said, he says like the lower levels of advice, they are appealing to people of a lower nature. And so they have to like give evidence, they have to convince, they have to give supporting information. When they're saying like, this is what you should do, then they're explaining why, why it's good for you. Why? Because in a lower plane is pervaded by suspicion, by doubt. The nature of the material world is doubt. Whereas then Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, but higher scriptural advice coming from a higher plane, they don't qualify anything. It's just do this. That's it. Because it's a plane that's based on trust. There's no question of deception. There's just that is a completely foreign idea. It's completely foreign idea, It's like sometimes I tell the story of one of the little boys here, by Chaitanya. When he found out about how people lock their houses, he was very disturbed. He couldn't understand, why would somebody need to lock their house? This was foreign to him, So we see this in children sometimes. They have this mood of just trusting everyone. So yeah, in a higher plane, it's just automatic. Everyone is honest, everyone is good, everyone is trustworthy. So we have to kind of have a bit of both of these sides, in this world. We have to factor in, the relative aspect, but we also want to try to see persons with this compassionate attitude, progressive vision, like what is the potential in this person? Let me try to encourage them and support them in that vein, in that line of development. And that's what we saw our Gurudev. We're so fortunate that we were able to witness that, in our Gurudev. Though sometimes I was discussing this with Sudarshan yesterday, we were mentioning one example, someone who Gurudev encouraged, to the surprise of many devotees, someone who's a bit troublesome. And there are actually many like that, and we saw devotees were surprised, why is Gurudev giving attention to this person, encouraging them so much, because he's seeing something else in them, So in that sense, I feel, that's an expression of mercy. That's a merciful way of viewing persons, And when we have our interactions with devotees in particular, then, we sometimes have to overlook the objective covering, okay, that I'm going to say that didn't actually happen, whatever that person just said, I'm not going to define them I'm not going to limit them to that. Not that we need to necessarily just bury it, but we don't need to dwell on it. We want to react to that negativity in such a way that they can move beyond that. We want to give them space, give them an opportunity to move beyond that. We don't want to limit them in that dysfunction, or encourage them in that dysfunction by reacting to it at face value. So this is also a compassionate way of, interacting with others. Merciful, because the theme is mercy. I feel like this is an expression of mercy. And then, and then we can try to give mercy specifically to persons who we feel maybe a bit, if we feel like we're a little bit further ahead than them, like there's something I can help them with in their spiritual life, then we will be attentive to that. It's mentioned actually in several places in the scriptures, but in particular, more well known are these verses in Bhagavatam, which described the nature of the Madhyam Adhikar Vaishnava. And we were discussing this not too long ago, I think, that it mentions that the Madhyam Adhikar, the middle class Vaishnava, is merciful to the ignorant. Merciful to the ignorant. They cultivate friendship with devotees who are more or less on an equal level. They offer love and service to the Lord, and they avoid those who are inimical. They are indifferent to those who are inimical. But it's specifically mentioned there, to be merciful, to help those who are a little less well off than ourselves. Maybe they've joined, after us, and their understanding less developed. And if they are receptive also, that's an important point. We never want to impose or we were mentioning yesterday, we don't want to give unsolicited advice. So, like if somebody wants to hear from us, somebody appreciates our help, then that's an expression of mercy, so to try to be alert to that, to give support in a personal way when possible too, to those who are a little less well off than ourselves. And then you mentioned this example of like giving some, giving money to a beggar on the street. We're not, okay, maybe that's not a direct expression of jiva doya in the highest sense, but we're not averse to that either. There's just, the Vaishnavas have a degree of just humanness, where they are sympathetic to the material needs also of other persons, like Gurudev mentioned that point. And Srila Saraswati Thakur also discussed this point. Gurudev said that Guru Maharaj would give a few rupees to beggars, and Saraswati Thakur also discussed that specifically as a duty of grihastas, of householders. So obviously that's not something that's a focus for us, but if we come across that, we won't just because I used to be like that. I used to be really fanatic, wouldn't give 1 penny to anyone. Every penny has to go only directly to Gurudev. I used to be like that. And then I heard that from Gurudev, how Guru Maharaj would do that. I was like, oh, okay. So that's not the way to be. And I appreciate that mood so much. It just shows this like human quality, not that it's all about, Bible bashing or, we're not like, it's like a kind of fundamentalism, that can come out. But, just appreciating the basic human needs of other humans, that's also a Vaishnava quality. So yeah. Does that cover what you were thinking of, Chinmoy Prabhu?
Yeah, very beautiful. Very nice.
Do you want to add any further thoughts to that?
No, you're very complete. Very nice.
Anyone else want to add any thoughts to that? Yeah, it's a very nice point for.
Could you mention again though what Saraswati, because I thought it was very wonderful, what Saraswati Thakur was mentioning was Jiva Doya.
Oh, well, he said what I remember more clearly is he said It's actually published in Service Life, I'm pretty sure, in the back. Devi Shishbu published it. There's, there are some of these lists, like important points that Saraswati Thakur made, and some important short texts are there. But the one I remember more clearly, I suppose because our minds tend to go more to the negative side, is that he describes Jiva Himsa as neglecting to preach the principles of pure devotion. And then Jive Doya, of course, must mean to preach the principles of pure devotion, to connect people with this divine channel of revelation. That is a real expression of mercy. So, yeah.
But then we have also not to preach to the faithless. So how to harmonize that?
Well, yeah, like we can say we don't want to force mercy on anybody, right? If somebody wants some mercy, unless you're Nityananda Prabhu, right? Unless you have some special capacity.
Aviram Das Thakur and whip.
So yeah, for the most part, we're not going to force mercy on anyone. We're giving mercy to those who have at least some degree of receptivity. But then, more advanced souls, the Paramahamsas, they have some higher capacity, and they may be able to give mercy even to those who don't want mercy. That's a good point.
Srila Gurudev gave mercy like a water, deserving, not deserving, so much. Just
yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It just, yeah. Gurudev had that mood one time. Actually, I don't know if I should mention that. I was with many devotees in Santa Cruz, and Gurudev went to see Santa Cruz beach. And then I was new, and Gurudev fell. Luckily, he didn't hurt, but he said, Krishna is forcing me to do dandavats. I was mortified. I said, what the hell are they all doing?
Wow, he said that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gurudev's glasses broke a little bit cracked, but luckily he didn't get hurt. I was mortified. I didn't know what to say, what to feel. But I was thinking, what the hell are they all doing? They should be watching Gurudev. Somebody should hold his hand. But Gurudev so merciful. He said, Krishna is forcing me to do dandavats. I was just,
my God.
Yeah.
Wow, it's painful actually when you hear this kind of expressions from Gurudev. Like too much humility. It's hard to hear.
So much tolerance. Yeah. Gurudev was, I don't know, more than Nityananda. So much he tolerated. It's just so painful for me to see him suffer. I don't know what to do, how to.
Suvasini Didi, anything you want to share? Any thoughts on this subject?
No, Didi, whatever you said is so complete and beautiful. Everything, you covered everything. Very nice. Very good points. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're so fortunate, we had that exposure. We had that like direct example in the form of Srila Govinda Maharaj. Like he lived always with that type of vision, and I mean, it's so, I feel so profoundly grateful that I was able to see that, because without that example, there are so many situations I would deal with in a completely different way, But, just seeing how encouraging, how loving, how merciful he was, with so many souls, and, showing us that example. And then, then sometimes I'm trying to apply that, and then you see some results, and sometimes even doubting, like, especially like we're fortunate too, because like there are, there are some persons in particular Like, there are a few people I'm thinking of now. Like, I know Gurudev gave them affection and mercy, and so I'm trying to deal with them in the same way. And and sometimes you start to have some doubts, but then you do get some results, you do get some response from that, and it's so affirming and so encouraging to see that. We have a question: while being in the material world, how to understand that we deserve mercy? Wow. Well, that's a pretty profound question. That's a very Vaishnava question. Wow, that's true, I mean, I don't know if I've felt like that before. Maybe. I think I usually feel too desperate. Like, you have to give me mercy, Gurudev, But sometimes it's true. Devotees do tell me that. I do hear that from some of my friends. They feel unworthy of receiving mercy. And they feel ashamed to come forward and ask for mercy from Guru, Gauranga, and the Vaishnavas. It's true. We do see that mood sometimes. And we can appreciate that sentiment. We can appreciate that kind of humility. But we have to get over that. And it's actually a deeper expression of humility to feel like, I don't care if I'm not worthy. There's like it's this shamelessness about it. Like, even though I'm not worthy, I'm still coming to you. There's this shamelessness about that mood. There's actually a beautiful verse of Rupa Goswami. It's recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Rupa and Sanatan meet Mahaprabhu for the first time. There's this beautiful verse there, and maybe it's included in Prapanaji. Maybe Suvasini Didi can remember that verse, where they're saying, like, we're not qualified to receive your mercy. However, Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses this, I think, in Shri Guru and His Grace, actually. Right? There's a couple of verses there. There's what's the first one, the more famous one? Suvasini, you know the verses I'm talking about, right? Naparadi cha kaschana, that verse. What's the first line? Naparadi kaschana. It's saying that you won't find anyone more sinful than me. You won't find anyone more wicked than me. No. I'm even ashamed to come before you and ask you for mercy. And then there's another verse where they're expressing that sentiment, and they're saying, however, your qualities are so irresistibly attractive that we cannot help ourselves. We are irresistibly pulled to you, even though we're not worthy of your mercy. We have nowhere else to go. There's nothing else for us to do, and there's nowhere else for us to go. Let me see. I'll look it up now in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I want to find the other verse as well. Naparadi Chakashna. I can't remember right now. But we just cannot help ourselves, because you are so charming, so attractive. Here it is. Matulyo, Chinmoy's found it. Matulyo, Nashti Papatma Naparadi Chakashna, Prihare Pilajame, Kimbruve Purushottaman. There is no sinner as sinful as I. There is no offender so offensive as I. O Supreme Lord, I am ashamed to pray for forgiveness for all of my sins and offenses. What more can I say than this? And let me see if I can find the other verse as well, which is more, is also related to this point. But yeah, that so there is this shyness, there is this shyness that the devotee will have in coming to ask for mercy. But at the same time, there has to be this recognition that there's nowhere else for us to go. There's nothing else for us to do. And that is also our natural relationship. You know, that is the Lord's nature, you know, to give mercy. There's another verse very nice included in Prapana Jivanamrita, you know, saying, when I hear that your name is Bhakta Vatsala, which means friend of the devotees, then I feel very afraid. But when I hear that you are Dina Bandhu, you know, that you are friend of the fallen, then I feel very happy. You know, then I feel very, very encouraged by that, you know. So this is who the Lord is, you know, it's an intrinsic part of his nature. And he also likes that, you know, like he likes to come as Patit Pavan, you know, as the savior of the fallen. You know, that's one of his pastimes. So we are actually, you know, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he you know, he actually says in one place that if with the highest transcendental vision, we will see that the reason this whole material world exists is so that the Lord can come as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you know, the Patit Pavan avatar, and rescue the fallen souls of this world, you know. So that's one of his leelas, you know, he likes to do that. So, you know, we are supporting him in that, you know. So yeah, there has to be a degree of shamelessness, actually. And it's also an expression of intimacy, you know, like why do we have to create this distance? You know, that like eventually, you know, we want to have some feeling of closeness and intimacy, like, oh Lord, you are my only shelter. Oh Gurudev, I have nobody else to go to. You know, that feeling of intimacy should be there. You know, like somebody, one of Gurudev's servitors told me once, there was some type of drama going on the Gurudev's veranda between some of the servitors. Chinmoy Prabhu has lots of experience in that field. And because Gurudev had so many personal servitors towards the end, and you know, there would be some conflict sometimes. And so anyway, there was one particular situation that arose. One servitor was upsetting another one, and then another one came in and was supporting that one. And then this servitor, and then this ended up getting to Gurudev. You know, he heard about it, and then he inquired from this one servitor, what's going on? And then they were telling something to Gurudev, and one of the things they said was, oh, Gurudev, you know, so-and-so is very protective of me. And Gurudev didn't appreciate that. And they told me that Gurudev like kind of put his hand on the table. I am your protector. No, I am your protector. No. And that's something I actually often remind myself of, because sometimes that mood comes to us, like we become dependent on this person or that person or this situation or that situation. But this is actually the real mood of Sharanagati. And we were just in our last Prapana Jivanamrita meeting, we came to this like central verse, Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam, which is encapsulating what Sharanagati is in essence, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's own verse. And so there are three main qualities of surrender that are described there. And one of them is to take exclusive shelter of Krishna in every time, place, and circumstance. Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam, you know, to have the faith that through bhakti, everything will be achieved. It yudchija viderapi kain karyam, if necessary, to give up our subservience even to rules and regulations. And then the third one, kain karya, Krishna pada eka. Krishna pada eka. Eka means one, means exclusively. Pada, to Krishna pada, you know, that we exclusively take shelter of Krishna. Not A, B, C, or D, you know, not this, that, you know, this person, that person, this situation, this security, you know, but Krishna, Gurudev, you know, Mahaprabhu, that's where our support comes from. That kind of conviction, that is an important, one of the central core elements of the mood of Sharanagati. So that kind of intimacy, we should feel that, I'm fully dependent on you, There's that beautiful explanation of Srila Sridhar Maharaj of this verse from the Rig Veda. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Srapa Shanti Suraya Diviva Chakshur Tatam, where he says, the devotees, they are hanging from the upper world. Their support comes from above, not from below. They're not looking for support in the lower things, lower persons of this world, but their support comes from above, from the upper plane. They're hanging from the upper world. So that's a very profound meditation, something to really meditate on. How can we apply that, in our lives? Wow, well, thanks for reminding me of all this. This is so wonderful to discuss and to remember, and to try to apply. It's always very relevant, because that's like a very human tendency, right? We're seeking shelter. We can also translate that as expectation and disappointment, right? To put it in more basic terms, like we have expectations of others, or not necessarily people, but particular situations in our lives, particular paycheck or job or whatever it may be. And then if it doesn't come through, we become disappointed, that this is like, a common, cycle that we go through in this world. But that's just fundamentally wrong. We need to live in that consciousness. And there's a really interesting article of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he discusses this and saying how it's published on the Prema Dharma site, Living Under the Sky. I think that might be the title. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying how we cannot take shelter of some small shed, which represents some particular person or circumstance, but we have to take shelter under the broad sky. The sky is our shelter. What the Lord's grace is coming to us, in this broad and expansive way. So living under the sky, whatever comes to us, that is an expression of grace, an expression of mercy, directly or indirectly, So we're trying to live in that. And that takes some courage. That definitely takes some courage to try to live like that. But we want to try to live like that. That is the real way, the real way to live.
Thank you so much, Vishakha Didi. Yeah, I've been listening Guru Maharaj. Yeah, he stressed again and again. Tattenu kampam, tattenu kampam. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he is telling, it's all my karma, my wrongdoing. I have earned it. I've been listening over and over. He said, we have to take responsibility. We have to take charge of our own life. Yeah. Thank you so much. You make it more realistic. I've been listening to Guru Maharaj. Now it just is amazing. So Gurudeva also tried, but yeah. I don't know, I so tied to Guru Maharaj. I came by his mercy, Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. So I just love Param Guru Maharaj. He makes it so simple, so easy to understand. I have some blessing. I don't know, I have some natural affection. I was listening, he's explaining different devotees, different ways. And so nicely. That you see the potential, then you work on towards that. Yeah, it's some devotee asked him, Guru Maharaj, I am in Navdeep, so what I supposed to do? He said, just develop that angle of vision. Yeah.
I'll share this. I'll share this. Here we are. Here's a link to the article here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing, Ramananda Prabhu. Does anyone else want to add any comments, or should we close there for today?
Didi, maybe you can also mention, in relevance with the question of Karun, how the negative, we want to increase the negative to attract the positive, because I've heard that a lot. And that's kind of because, in this day and age, we're all supposed to think positive about ourselves. But, our gurus are telling, like, focus on the negative and that will attract the positive.
Well, I mean, first of all, these terms have to be understood. Because when our gurus use that word negativity, they're not referring to, it's not like in the way that we normally, but more in like a scientific sense, the negative and the positive, in that sense. And so that negative tendency refers to that mood of humility, with instead of versus being the aggressor, but being a non-aggressor, being a receptor. And this is the sense in which negativity is being referred to, essentially, I think the point is that we want to be, that we need to position ourselves as receivers of divine grace. Because our tendency in this world, as I just said, is to assert, to impose. Srila Sridhar gave this wonderful explanation of karma. Karma means, he says, karma means to assert our will. No, it means self-assertion. That was his exact word. Karma means self-assertion. Because self-assertion means we are imposing upon the environment, like there is a natural flow within the environment. There is that flow of bhakti. There is that current, the Krishna current, the in-caring current. And normally we are artificially imposing our current, our self-centered, egoistic current upon the environment. And because it's in conflict with the natural flow of things, because it's discordant, that's the word, because it's discordant with the natural flow of things, there has to be a reaction, because it's not in harmony with the natural flow of things, then automatically we are inviting a reaction. Whereas in the current of bhakti, in the expression, in the mode of bhakti, the devotee is moving in sync with that flow. And this is an interesting thing about Gurudev, how, and we talked about this actually the other day with Jamuna Priya Didi. She joined one of the meetings, and she was talking about that, like how Gurudev was always in this meditative mood, like trying to understand what is Guru Maharaj's will, what is Mahaprabhu's will, and moving in harmony, moving in sync with that, Gurudev wouldn't, Gurudev would talk, he talked about wait and see, right? The idea behind that is wait and see, what is the direction of the divine will? Like, where's the divine current moving? What is the will of Guru Maharaj? And there's so many examples that we can think of, and he might start something, there'd be some opposition, then he'd wait for some time. Okay, I don't want to assert my own self upon the environment. Let me see, I had this idea, but maybe Guru Maharaj, maybe the Lord, Krishna Mahaprabhu had another idea. Let me wait for some other clear indication of how the divine current is moving. So in that, the devotees in this mood of trying to align, trying to receive, trying to what's the word? What's the right word? To channel, like they want to be an instrument. They want to receive mercy for themselves, and they also want to be a channel for the Lord's will. They want to be an instrument of the Lord's will. So this is all This is all a type of negativity in the sense of not being an aggressor, and the sense of not being an imposer upon the environment. So within that, there is this healthy kind of humility, that and that is because this is maybe going more directly to your point here, that, these high Vaishnavas, they are living within the relativity of such a high degree of purity and such a high degree of truth and beauty, such a high reality, that correspondingly they feel themselves to be small. They're living in real consciousness of the environment, the real movement of the environment, the real nature of the source of the environment, Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. They're living in vivid awareness of that reality. And so naturally they feel themselves to be smaller, It's the, as Srila Sridhar says, the outcome of proximity to greatness. This is real humility. So it's not, it's not based on low self-esteem, or anything like that. No. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that's good. That the negativity that we consider is not in the mundane world is based on self-esteem, but the higher conception of what they're talking about, humility, is based on like actual knowledge of the absolute.
Yes. Yeah, I guess you could say we are positively negative. Something like that. Yeah. I mean, the devotees, they are optimistic. They are positively optimistic. We are irrepressibly optimistic, because that is as Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains, that is the nature of faith. That is the nature of faith, because they're always seeing the Lord's hand behind everything. The Lord's will, the Lord's hand is divine everything, and God is good, right? God is behind everything, and God is good. In God we trust. We're here in America now. They've got it on the dollar bill. I think it's still there, unless they changed it.
Yes, it's still there. Yes.
Still there. Pretty good, huh?
In India, also it says Satyameva Jayate, but nobody follows. Nobody knows.
Oh, really? It says it on the rupee, Satyameva Jayate.
Yeah.
May truth prevail over all.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh man, you've made my day. That's wonderful.
Yeah. No, you.
Satyam Eva Jayate. Jai.
They have line, seal of line, and then it says Satyameva Jayate. Yeah.
So because the Lord is behind everything, then everything is good, because God is good. Bhagavan Mangal Moy. Gurudev mentioned that was something that he learned in school. Bhagavan Mangal Moy. God is good. In God we trust. And he related it to in God we trust. So if we really truly have that faith at heart, then we will see what's happening in the environment. It is also good ultimately. So how was that related to what we were talking about? I can't remember now, but it was related somehow. Oh, optimism. So yeah, the devotees are not negative in that sense. They are positively optimistic, because we believe in the Lord's presence and will being behind everything, and we believe in his goodness at the same time. So there's an optimism, there's a hopefulness that is always in the Vaishnava. That's something Gurudev would also speak about. Yeah. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Chinmoy Dev Prabhu ki Jai. Jai Suvasani Didi ki Jai. Bimala Didi ki Jai. All the assembled new preaching center, permanent preaching center in Ireland, Limerick ki Jai. And here we have Doyal Nitai. Now, Doyal Nitai, we can just have a whole class about him. So he's going out and he does book distribution. Oh, we can't see because of the light. Maybe he'll come to this side. So he goes out and he does book distribution every day in Salt Lake City. I mean, that is just, I worship that. That is just so amazing. Yeah.
Chai, thank you.
I that's difficult. I mean, I've done it a few times, but it's very difficult for me to do that, so I really deeply admire that. That's like the main service, to go out on the streets, just courageously approach people and tell them about Krishna. Like, my God, that's so worshipable.
Chai, thank you.
You're worshipful.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll stop there for today.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki.
Bye, Gurudev. Look forward to next week. We've had a Jita Krishna tune in the last few minutes. Welcome, Prabhu. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Didi. Govinda Maharaj, he said that American money was his favorite money because it says that on the money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard him say that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on to some dollar bills, I think, when I leave America. Gonna remember that. Okay, well, see you all very soon. Next Monday, I suppose I'll I think my schedule will be free. We'll see. So yeah, hopefully we'll meet next. Is that right, Chinmoy Prabhu? Maybe.
Okay, so it's going to be, we'll have to see, because you do actually have an online program at 8 o'clock in the morning in Tijuana. And then, so we'll have to see how long that's going to last.
Okay. I don't think we'll go longer than an hour, but yeah, you never know, right? But yeah, we'll try, we'll aim to join this. Yeah. We'll aim to do this also.
Right.
So, okay. Okay, Dandavat pranams to you all. And look forward to seeing you again.
Didi.
Thank you, Didi. Beautiful.
Dhanavad.
Follow up.